I did, so I'm not.
So the agreement was that you get Cannon the third weekend every month. Do you do that?
No, and we didn't really agree to that because the last.
It's signed on paper.
This is what I do. It's not gonna ever be. But
I
one
get
thing
that
you
now.
ain't gonna never, ever, ever have to question or worry about is that boy getting the love and the same treatment the kids when he's around. Always been concerned. And I've always loved him
I've
since
never
the first
seen
day I
that
heard
heard from you. You don't have to hear from me because Cannon knows what's up. Understand why it's a little weird now, but you know it's not weird when you know it's now all of a sudden.
I've always been there since I decided to forgive you. If I forgave, I gotta take everything that comes with it, and that's it. Y'all did some stuff so we.
The tension in the room was palpable, as the drama between them had always centered around their disagreements, but never like this. This time it felt different, more intense, more personal, and with the cameras rolling, it was like everything was on the verge of falling apart. What seemed like a normal taping of a well-known reality show had quickly turned into something much more serious. The usual noise of the crew and cameras faded into the background as the conflict between Yandy and Rasheeda took center stage. There was a storm brewing beneath the surface, something far more complicated than the usual TV drama. Their history together was undeniable. Yandy and Rasheeda had known each other for years and shared a deep connection, one that was forged through mutual experiences and unspoken ties. But things had started to change when Yandy began dating Nam. What once seemed like a supportive friendship quickly turned into something far more strained. Rasheeda had tried to be there for her friend, but soon doubts began to creep in. She started to question M's commitment, his choices, and whether Yandy was making the right decisions in her life. The tension between them had been building for a while, but tonight, under the bright lights and the watchful eyes of the cameras, it had reached a boiling point. Yandy could feel the heat rising in her chest as Rasheeda's words cut through the air like a sharp knife. This wasn't the usual playful teasing or lighthearted banter that had once defined their relationship. This was real, raw, and personal. Rasheeda's disapproval of Yandy's relationship had grown over time, and now she wasn't holding back. Every word she spoke seemed aimed directly at Yandy, as if her relationship with M was some kind of betrayal. Will you actually sit here and support him, Yandy? You're still going to act like he's your knight in shining armor after everything he's done? Rasheeda's tone was filled with disbelief. Yandy's blood was boiling, but she knew she had to keep her composure. She couldn't let her emotions get the best of her, especially not in front of the cameras. Rasheeda had always been quick to point out Ms. faults and failures, but now it felt like she was attacking Yandy herself, questioning her judgment, her choices, and everything that had led her to this point. Why do you keep bringing up his messes? I have to deal with his baggage, his mistakes. You're not the one in this relationship, so stop acting like you know what's best for me, Yandy snapped, her voice tinged with frustration. Rasheeda rolled her eyes in response, but Yandy wasn't done. She had kept quiet for so long, but now she couldn't hold back anymore. The gloves were off, and she wasn't about to let Rasheeda get away with this. You've always had your opinions, but you've never walked in our shoes, Yandy continued, raising her voice with each word. You act like you know everything, but you have no idea what we've been through or what I've had to forgive. The air between them was thick with hostility, and it was clear that their long-standing issues were finally coming to a head. The rivalry, the unspoken jealousy, and the way Rasheeda's presence had always loomed over Yandy and Miz's relationship had been simmering for years. Now it was all out in the open. Rasheeda's A's narrowed, and her face twisted in anger. You think you're the only one who's had to deal with M's mess? You think I don't know what it's like to be in a relationship with someone who constantly makes mistakes? I'm tired of seeing you pretend like he's changed while he's just dragging you down, Yandy. He's hurt us both. The words hit Yandy like a slap in the face. For a moment, she felt the ground shift beneath her feet. She wanted to shout back, to scream at Rasheeda for all the pain she had caused, but she refused to let anyone see her crumble. This wasn't the time or the place to lose control. Rasheeda's persistent interference in her relationship with M had always been a problem, but tonight, it felt like the final straw. Yandy had been trying for so long to keep things together, to make it work despite the drama and the mistakes. But now, it seemed like everything was unraveling. As their argument continued, it became clear that the conflict wasn't just about Miz's mistakes or Rasheeda's disapproval. It was about something deeper, something that had been building for years. It was about the way their friendship had shifted, the way Rasheeda had always been a shadow over Yandy's relationship, and the way both women had always been fighting for control. Yandy had always tried to keep the peace, to keep her relationship with M separate from the drama that seemed to follow them wherever they went. But now, it felt like that was no longer possible. With the cameras capturing every moment, every word, every glance, it was impossible to hide the anger and frustration that had been building between them. In that moment, Yandy knew that things would never be the same between her and Rasheeda. The years of friendship, the shared history, the unspoken bond, all of it seemed to be disintegrating before her eyes. And as much as she wanted to salvage the relationship, part of her knew that it might be too late. The tension in the room was so thick you could almost cut it with a knife. The cameras, the crew, the bright lights, they were all just a backdrop to the raw emotion playing out in front of them. Yandy and Rasheeda were no longer just two women with a complicated history, they were two people who had reached the breaking point. And as their argument continued, it was clear that no matter how hard they tried, they couldn't go back to the way things were. The storm that had been brewing for so long had finally broken, and there was no telling what would come of it. For Yandy and Rasheeda, this moment was just the beginning. Accusations are becoming more frequent as people realize that they were witnessing a relationship slowly falling apart. It was a long-standing struggle for control and respect, and it seemed there was no clear solution to the conflict. The people involved were unsure of how to step in or help. Yandy ran away to avoid confrontation, while Rasheeda's anger continued to build under the surface. She was both exhausted and furious, yet the cameras kept rolling, capturing every moment. It seemed like Yandy had lost the battle to hold her family together. Rumors started circulating that M had finally returned to his true love, Erica. Some even claimed that M had resigned from his marriage because he was tired of being called Yandy's husband. There were whispers suggesting that M and Erica might already be secretly married. But for Yandy, the real fight had just begun. She now had to deal with the aftermath of her broken life and try to figure out who, if anyone, she could trust, not even herself. It wasn't just about Rasheeda or M anymore. Yandy was upset with M for hurting her, but she also wanted to send a serious warning to Erica. Yandy's pride was the only thing keeping her in her marriage, but now that M had moved in with Erica, it looked like Yandy was losing control. In case you missed it, M had been released from prison earlier that year after being convicted of drug-related offenses. Throughout his time behind bars, Yandy took on everything, handling it all on her own with M's support. She did everything she could to keep the family together, and we thought that, after all her hard work and sacrifice, she might finally get to enjoy her marriage. However, instead of focusing on Yandy, M chose to move on to Erica, who had been a rival of Yandy's for years. As the saying goes, once a cheater, always a cheater. To deal with the growing issues in their marriage, M and Yandy even tried therapy, but it was clear that M hadn't set any boundaries with Erica. The conflict between Yandy and Erica went way back, and it seemed that Yandy had been in constant denial about the state of her marriage. If you've been following the complicated love triangle between Yandy and M, you know it's been anything but simple. Even though Yandy knew M was still involved with Erica, she never directly confronted her about it. Her pride and stubbornness convinced her that she was the only woman in his life. But, as we all know, things are rarely as straightforward as they seem. Before Yandy came into the picture, M had already shown how much he cared for Erica. They had been together for quite some time, and Erica was one of the few women M genuinely liked. Erica has shared that she and M used to live together, travel together, and even had matching passports. She met his entire family and was loyal to him, even helping take care of his first child when Samantha wasn't around. She was there for him when things weren't going well and when he needed support. When M was finally steady and had a plan for the future, he met Yandy. Despite being married to Yandy, M continued to keep in touch with Erica. There's even speculation that he moved out of their home and broke up with Yandy in order to start a new relationship with Erica. Now that he was free from prison and had a steady job, it seemed like he was ready to move on. Yandy had worked hard to hold everything together while M was in prison, but now it seemed like all her efforts might have been in vain. She had dealt with M's drama, handled issues with his baby mothers, and fought to keep the family intact.